It's a live stream for the stuffs and the do's and the what's and the who's and the what's in the live stream. In the lighting, in the lack thereof of lighting. I think I need to work on my lighting in so many ways. I need to work on my lighting in so many ways. Just kind of need to, thank you. Just kind of need to get better. I need to get better in a lot of ways. It need to be a fair thing to say. Where am I? Who am I? What am I doing? Doing the live stream. Because it's a live stream. In the live stream. For the live stream. In the live stream. In the live stream. Did I mention? It's a live stream. Because I feel like I should mention that it's a live stream. Because it's a live stream. Talking about the stuffs. Hello. It's a live stream. Welcome. Good to see you. Hello, my love. I hope you are all having a wonderful night, day, whatever time it is. I hope things are well. I hope things are well with everyone. I've had a stressful week so far with the snow that we've gotten here in Kansas. Stu, I don't know what you're asking. Ready to be home? Yeah, that was me today. Worked like 9.5 hours in a really cold back room without a lunch break. It was pretty great. It wasn't my favorite thing. Why is your stomach hurt? Did you eat? I don't remember you eating before you left the house. I don't remember you eating before. Did you eat before you left the house? Sorry, I'm scolding my wife. Probably lack of food. Yeah, okay, so. I don't know. Do you get a break at some point? Or did you already go on your break? Could have eaten on your break. Food is good. Eat food, drink water, get rest, do your stretches. Already did. Good. Oh, you already had your break. I just wanted to let you know that you are so amazing and kind, and I know that God has a great plan for the rest of your life. I hope y'all know that even when times are tough, Jesus loves you. Loves you. Love you. Well, thank you for the encouraging words. Don't have a good time? Never. Have a great time. Maybe. What do you do? Read minds or stupid tarot cards? No. Why would I do any of that? Oh, you don't think what you ate is agreeing with you? Happens. What did you eat? My stomach hasn't been liking certain food lately. My body doesn't love dairy, but I have been eating quite a bit of dairy throughout my life. And recently, I'm just like, you know what? Let's cut out the dairy. You know, and it's kind of been helping me feel better. But then I'll have like a bowl of cereal, and it's just pain. When you buy a Switch 2 when it comes out, I don't have a Switch 1. I don't have that kind of money. How do I identify religiously? I don't identify with a religion. I am an atheist. I don't identify with a religion. There's a video on my FIP about how if you're seeing this, it's from God, and it was slightly amusing to me considering I'm deconstructing. Yeah, maybe it was a message from God. Who knows? Or maybe it's just someone putting that to get you to click or whatever, or to help you feel encouraged or whatever, or make you like their content. I scrolled past a content creator the other day, and their stuff keeps coming up, where it's just half their stuff is like, "Can I pray for you?" And it's just like prayers and stuff. Can you not trash my couch? Thank you. It's like, "Can I pray for you?" And just prayers and stuff. And they've been on YouTube for 2 years, as have I, about 2 years, and they have like 200,000 subscribers. And I like to tell people, I'm just like, this is how I know I have morals. Because if I didn't, I would be a Christian content creator. Because if I didn't have morals and I just wanted to do this purely for fame and to make money off of it and whatnot, it would be 1,000 times easier to do it as a Christian content creator. But no, I'm trying to do what's right and speak out against it and whatnot. And I actually just reached 1,500 subscribers on YouTube, which I'm more excited about than I feel like I should be. But I don't know. I'm a small content creator. You know, I'll take whatever small victories I can get, but it makes me happy. I don't know. I did used to be Christian. You ate 2 bakery donuts. I mean, that's not like greatest. Have you seen Heretic? I have not. Remind me of what that is. I know what that is. I've seen something on it, but I'm blanking on it. I saw it. Not it, but like I saw like an ad for it and it looked interesting, and now I'm just completely blanking. Clearly it wasn't that interesting. At least not to me. Clearly it didn't, my brain didn't really care much. It had like 1,000,000 views, I'm not even kidding. Yeah, because it will. Because posts like that will. And I look back on when I used to make posts on my personal Facebook page, you know, supporting Christianity, speaking out against Christianity. A lot of my friends and family loved it and like would share it with people, and then those people would love it. And you know, people thought I was being called to become a priest or something, and I had a real connection with God, which I thought had a connection with God too. So it's just like I could do it. I could fake it. It's just like make Christian content just to make money off of it, and just to make a career out of this. But I don't want to. I don't support that. When did you previously identify as Christian, and why did you switch to atheism? I identified as Christian my whole life up until about two, little over 2 years ago. I think it was 2 in like late November, early December, somewhere in that range. In 2022, late November, early December is when I became 18. Well, I wasn't a Christian up until that point. I was a theist for about a year before that. So, raised Christian up until I was like, what, 24? Something like that, ish. And I lost my belief in Christianity, whatever. I stopped believing in God when I dove into my religious studies to try to strengthen my knowledge of God and my ability to defend God. I wanted to be an apologist. And I don't know, sometimes when you dive into studies like that, you kind of peek behind the curtain, and things like religions and God start to lose their credibility a little bit. And just over time, I just had less and less reason to believe there was a God, and more reason to doubt. And so slowly, over time, I went from Catholic to non-denominational Christian to theist to atheist. Best thing to do to gain subs and make money is to say you were atheist who had NDE and went to heaven and seen Jesus. Yeah, that'll do it. They love those conversion stories. right? Is it conversion story? I feel like that's not the word. Is it conversion story? I feel like that's not the word I'm looking for. You're coming to Christianity story. It might be conversion story. Why do I not think that's the word? Thoughts on homosexuality? I'm fine with homosexuality. I'm a homosexual myself. What there's studies? What? Sorry, I can't read. What? Like my brain started reading, but my mouth didn't really want it. I'm sorry. What religious studies did you partake in? Was it formal education or through independent reading? More through independent reading, but it started with, I wouldn't really say formal education, but Christian high school education. I mean, I went to Christian schools K through 12th grade, but when I really am like, it was in high school when I'm just like, I actually want to be an apologist and like get serious about this. And it was about halfway through high school when I realized I'm like, I took a class called Faith and Reason, which is basically a Christian apologetics class, which apologetics is just defending the faith. And I realized in that class that I was not equipped with the knowledge or the skills to properly defend the faith. I'm like, if I go up on a debate stage, I'm going to lose. And that's not going to help. I wanted to spread God's light, love, and message throughout the whole world if I could, as far as I could, dream big. It was in that class that I realized I'm not doing enough. I don't know enough, and so I really dove into my studies then. Hello. Why? One day I'll learn how to read. I don't know why I didn't learn how to read, when I was getting an associate's in English literature. I know it's only an associate's degree, but like at some point in the process, you'd think I'd learn how to read. I still can't. My brain doesn't like that word. Genetically Modified Skeptic is a really good YouTube channel. Yeah, I've seen some of their stuff. Yeah, it's blanking on me right now. I'm being completely honest with you, but like, yeah. Right? Who should genetically modified skeptic? I am terrible. My brain refuses to remember names, titles, connections. I just can't do it. I know a good amount of 80s rock songs, but like I'll have a hard time telling you who sang each one. Like my brain refuses. Yeah, I know him. Yeah. He's pretty good. How'd you feel about being gay while maintaining Christian practice? So, I don't know. I wasn't ever really too far against homosexuality, and by the time I got to like 7th and 8th grade, I stopped having any issues at all with it. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with being homosexual. By the time I got through high school, I was making the Facebook posts online and like defending homosexuality and like speaking out in defense of it and whatnot. And then by the time by the time I graduated college, I had come out. And so to me, it was more of there's nothing wrong with being homosexual. It's just how some of us were made. If God made us, it's just how some of us are and how some of us have always been. And I don't feel like that's something that God would be really against. An all-loving God, I don't feel like would have too many issues with that. So I just kind of didn't feel like he would have much of an issue with it. Of course, I got plenty of homophobic and transphobic teachings throughout my time in school and whatnot, but I don't know. I just kind of, yeah, I just kind of figured God shouldn't care. Apologize specifically for defending Jesus, Christian God, or God in general. Sorry for so many religious questions. Just very interested. No, you're okay. Started. So I'm very passionate about religion, and so I've been very outspoken. So at each stage of my deconstruction, it's been that. So like when I first started like speaking out about religion, it was defending Catholicism. And then it was when I went to non-denominational Christianity, it was defending this idea of what the Christian God is or should be that I had. And then when I went to theism, it was defending this idea of a good, loving God that I thought I had a good relationship with. And then now I'm an atheist and I speak out against religion. So both at varying stages, if that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. My brain's not wanting to connect words together and go. I have had a very tired and exhausted day, and I'm trying to be a little bit more enthusiastic in my live streams, so maybe I'm just completely pushing my brain past its limits. It's possible. It's fine. Hello. Did you have any inner conflict between your faith and your sexuality at any period in your life, such as puberty? Honestly, actually, I don't know why I didn't mention that before. Other people's homosexuality, I thought was fine. My own, yeah, no. I don't know why I said. Yeah, later on, I figured God would be okay with it, but for a while, before I accepted it, because I didn't accept who I was until like college. Before that, before I accepted it, I had that teaching in my head that like it's homosexuality is temptation from Satan. It's Satan trying to tear you away from God. Those thoughts and feelings are Satan whispering in your ear trying to tear you away from God. So for the longest time, I did have a huge conflict because every time I had any same-sex thoughts or attractions, I thought I was being attacked by Satan and would try to push him out of my head to the best of my ability. And then once I accepted myself, I figured, and I put two and two together because it was in college when I did this. So up until all that time where I was like okay with homosexuals, speaking out in defense of them, I still was attacking myself and denying my homosexuality. It's very weird. And then I came out as that, and then there was really no conflict. And I figured God would probably just love and accept me no matter what. But for the longest time, I did have a conflict. I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought I was being attacked by Satan. Biblical God did have a big thing against homosexuality. Biblical God was wrong. I might agree. No thieves, nor converts, no drunkards, no revelers, no extortioners will inherit the kingdom of God. Yes. God's got a lot of things against a lot of stuff. Believe in God because God is truth and life. Okay. Sorry, but it's the truth. The Bible condemns it. I mean, I agree that it's the truth. The Bible condemns it. I just don't care what the Bible says. Yes, that's what I'm reading too. If you grew up in Catholic upbringing, non-denominational church, those are usually theologically conservative. So I'm assuming there was a conflict. Yes. Either accept yourself or God. I have no reason to believe God even exists, and I'm not really a fan of the biblical God to begin with. So like myself, I guess. Sorry, I can only fit so much into that one chat. You're okay. Even if God didn't accept you, your wife did. I'm very lucky to have some friends and family who actually did accept me. And even the ones that kind of did were pretty nice. When you accepted yourself and your sexuality, did you find yourself further from God, or did your faith remain intact? It definitely messed with my religious faith in like, how old was I? I think I was still Catholic at the time. So that conservative, homophobic upbringing. And it got me into this idea of like, well, the God that I believe in and believe that I have interactions with is a good, loving God who loves me no matter what. And all these religions, all these different denominations, for one, are just a mess and can't agree with each other. Surely it's just humans that have twisted and messed up God's word over time and have just distorted this idea of this good, loving God that I thought I knew existed as a good and loving God. So in religion, it definitely had an impact on the religious aspect. The relationship with God aspect, not so much. And in fact, it kind of helped me just calm down and accept myself more, which just helped me overall be less stressed about everything, including, a relationship with God and whatnot. So it might have even strengthened the relationship. Of course, looking back, I don't believe now that I had a relationship with a God, but at the time I did. If the Christian God did exist, would you follow him? No. I don't really think there's a God in any religion that I've studied that I would follow, especially not the Abrahamic God. I would love to interview you for my small YouTube channel. I'm getting more serious about it in 2020. Yes, I saw your comment earlier. Trying to figure out how we would set that up. My schedule is awful, and I don't know where we could communicate. I'm trying to think. Direct message on Instagram might be the best way to get a hold of me. Or TikTok, but TikTok might be going away soon. Like apps that have direct messages that I'm on. You said you were really into apologetics, defending God. Then you seem to go in the opposite direction when you said earlier that you would uphold atheism and Christianity. That is quite a switch. I'm wondering if you could elaborate on how the switch was made. It was just over time, just of studying Christianity and other religions more, losing seeing them as less and less credible over time, and studying the biblical God more and more and seeing that he's kind of a monster. So not agreeing with him, not having any reason to believe in him regardless. And it was like a 7-year process from halfway through high school when I'm like, all right, I got to get serious about this apologist stuff, to when I became atheist. It was about a 7-year process. So it was a whole thing, a really in-depth going through everything, or at least most everything. I have a live stream, one of my live streams, if you want to scroll through my lives, where I spend the first like 45 minutes or so going through my deconstruction story. And then I tack on just shortly my coming out story at the end of that. But the live is titled My Deconstruction Story. I don't know. Give me my notes, thank you. I don't know what number it was. What number was it? Live number 9. We'll probably give a more in-depth kind of go through of it. I got in trouble for having the word non-binary in a username of mine, so it scared me to even think about actively speaking out with my parents knowing until I'm independent. Yeah, with stuff like that, as much as I hate having to give this advice, if you're still dependent on people who aren't going to be accepting of your views, it's might be best to kind of keep it a little bit quiet for the time being. Like by the time I really started speaking out against stuff and having issues, I was already moved out, so it wasn't really an issue for me. And by the time I, became an atheist, well, especially by the time I became an atheist, I'd been moved out for like 3 years or so. Um, but yeah, so yeah, unfortunately, best advice I can give someone who whose beliefs, and it's not necessarily just atheist versus conservative parents. Just if your beliefs compete with someone you are dependent on, sometimes it's better to be a little bit more quiet about it. Of course, I don't know your parents. Some parents are different. There are some parents who will disown kids for, not being how they want. And then there are some parents who are a lot more loving and accepting. So it kind of depends on the parents sometimes too. What do you do for work? I run a dairy department at a local supermarket. It's pretty amazing. You have SteamYard on YouTube. It's pretty easy. I don't know what SteamYard is. Yeah, we would just have to go over details. The Christian God is one of the most immoral characters in all of fiction. Perhaps. Perhaps. And if it has... I'm a little behind on chat, so forgive me. And if it has to do with your sexuality... Sorry, this was a very long question. Oh, I didn't finish reading your question. Long question. Thank you for answering the question. Yes, I think I pretty much answered that question, I hope. I think it's time to get all the gods together and have a cage fight each other. Zeus and Jesus would be like the Undertaker versus Rey Mysterio, maybe. Would love to hear you elaborate on why you think God is an immoral monster. According to the Bible, he seems to support things like genocide, misogyny, and slavery, and child abuse, and seems to just kind of be an egotistical, abusive monster. Which I guess we can get into. Jesus versus Zeus cage fight. The more you call him a monster, the further away from him you're getting. You always ask for a sign, but he doesn't give you one, and you wonder why. I mean, if he's going to pout about it, that's kind of on him. I'm not really worried about getting further away from him. That's not really a very hard fact to deal with. It's true, God did he killed children, and one of the hardest things to accept is to see that he is perfect, and somehow that's okay. Yeah. The it's okay when God does it argument really just kind of infuriates me. My friend, you should get rid of the habit of blinking your eyes when you try to buy time to think, or because you are not sure about what you're saying. Okay, I'm not going to. I also have an eye twitch and have really dry eyes, so I blink and twitch a lot anyway. When you think of this in the eyes of Christianity, God saw children as pure and innocent in his eyes. What I believe, and what many believe, is that when a child dies, they are taken up into heaven. Yeah, but now we're justifying murdering children because they'll go straight to heaven because they're innocent, and I don't really want to go down that road. Sorry, I'm skipping some chats just because I'm trying to catch up to the bottom. I'm going to end up having to just skip a bunch and go straight to the bottom. Oh, we're at the bottom. Okay. I mean, we're not far from the bottom. God condones slavery, child marriage, genocide, and punishment of someone that did no crime. Sins of the fathers. Human sacrifice. Need I say more? Yeah. It's pretty rough. You have a boyfriend? Do you want to get married one day? I have a wife, actually. And I can't wait to see how that confuses some of you. Last chat before the cheese one. Last chat before the cheese one. Last chat before the cheese one. Nope, that's the cheese one was down here. The more you call him a monster, the more you stray from him. Yeah, I read and responded to that one. I don't know if that's the one that you were referring to. That's the one that I see above the cheese one. Actually, God didn't condone slavery. He improved upon a system already in place. Biblical slavery is very much different. It is more like indentured servitude. Also, the Bible also states that these slaves are to be released after a set time, and if the slave wishes to stay, they can become part of the family. No. There is chattel slavery, where you can buy your slaves from the heathen that sojourn with you, and they are to be your property for life. And you can even pass them down as inheritance to your children after you die. And you can beat these slaves you can beat them with a rod so long as they don't die within a couple of days. But if they die after a couple of days, it's fine because they're your property. That's the slavery. And then there's the Israelite indentured servitude, that you need to release them after a certain amount of time. You can't treat them poorly if they want to stay with you. Or honestly, if you give them a wife to marry, and it's time for them to go, but they are attached to their wife or their child, you get to keep their wife and children. So if they're attached to them, they can say, I love my master, and you'll drive an awl through their ear, and then they'll be your master forever. So it's a loophole to try to not have to let go of your Israelite indentured servitude, which is kind of messed up. But those are two different types of servitude in the Bible. Oh, I understand you feel bad for me. And I understand why. I used to feel bad for people like me growing up. Is it for tax purposes? No, I am pansexual. As soon as I'm attracted to people, kind of regardless of gender or biological sex. I'm attracted to both, biological sexes and all the genders. I guess all the biological sexes too, because there's usually two, but not necessarily. There are some more. But yeah, I am pansexual. So included in that all genders, biological sexes, is women, who I am married to one. I do identify as homosexual. I am pansexual. I'm attracted to men, women, non-binary folks. So it falls under the overall umbrella term of homosexual. Even though homosexual, it kind of like saying gay. Gay can also mean like lesbian or whatever else, but also gay means a man liking man. So it kind of falls under an umbrella term, but specifically pansexual. Owning these people as a property was a thing done only in the times of early Israelites. These pagan religions were wrong in the eyes of God in seeing God as perfect and righteous God. It was wrong in the eyes of God in seeing God as it is a just punishment if that's what God so willed. Sure. The New Testament also supports slavery. And it's in the holy book, divinely inspired by God, supposedly. So, God's fine with slavery. I do really have a wife, legally married to a wife. Yes. Gay as hell, love to see it. An omnisexual, love to see it. Are you angry at God? I am as angry as God. Am as angry at God as you are at Bigfoot. And yes, this is the wife. Taylor in chat is the wife. The wife has entered the chat. She's been here the whole time. She's just at work and maybe shouldn't be engaging in chat. The New Testament was the portion where it was improving on slavery. God does not want man to mistreat fellow man. Paul wrote a lot about Gentiles being able to be God's people. Sure, but it's still owning another person as property. And the New Testament also encourages slaves to be submissive and obedient to their masters, even the cruel ones. Now, it does say that masters should be kind to their slaves, but it also does say that even if your master is cruel, you should still be obedient, because then it's your master's fault for being cruel. But if you're obedient, you're doing your part. So, and even without all of that, even if they treat each other nicely, you're still owning another human being as property. And that's just, I don't know about that. What is the purpose of your YouTube channel? Like, what is the ultimate purpose for you and for your viewers? Atheist activism and LGBTQ plus activism would probably be. So you're not angry at all then? Not angry with God at all, because I don't believe he exists. I don't love Christianity. I don't tend to get angry very often these days. I've just been kind of working on, just over the years, just kind of worked on that. It's really hard to get me. It's hard to get me in a sustained state of anger. Like, I might get angry for a second, but like holding grudges and like being angry over time isn't really, like, you gotta try. You gotta do something worthy to really get me to like hate you and be angry with you for like ever. Not to say it's impossible, but I just kind of try not to be angry. God's people were family and brothers, and God wanted people together as family. Yeah. He also came to, like, Jesus also came to turn, what was it, father against son, brother against sister, to turn people from each other. You gotta follow God, not the world, not worry about what other people think. 1 Timothy, for the sexually immoral, for those practicing homosexuality, for slave traders and liars and perjurers, and for whatever else is contrary to the sound doctrine. I feel like there's more to that. Okay. 1 Timothy, let's look at that. Which Bible should I use? 1 Timothy 1:10. I'll get there someday, I promise. 1 Timothy 1:10. What? Right? 1 Timothy 1:10. 1 Timothy 1:10. Fornicators, sodomites, slave traders, liars, perjurers, and whatever else is contrary to the sound teaching that conforms to the glorious gospel of. What are we? Well, there's more than we have. Now we know that the law is good if one uses it legitimately. This means understanding that the law is laid down not for the innocent, but for the lawless and disobedient, for the godless and sinful, for the unholy and profane, for those who kill their fathers and mothers, for murderers, fornicators, sodomites, slave traders. I think I missed another chat of yours. I feel like you had the context in. I must have just missed it. Yes, but also the Bible throughout is okay with slavery. I understand the Bible contradicts itself, and that's one of the big issues with the Bible, but it does throughout support slavery. Just pointing it out, there is no biblical support for obeying a master who is cruel to a slave. Master is called to treat kindly. Okay, let me see if I can find the verse for you. First Peter 2:18, slaves, with all respect, submit yourselves to your masters, not only to those who are good and gentle, but also to those who are harsh. Disobedience is a sacrifice to show of faith, because abolishing slavery in general took thousands of years. It takes time for some of these things. Yeah, but God had people within like the community of Israel in the Old Testament put to death for doing something like collecting sticks on the Sabbath. Are you saying God needs 2,000 years? And nowhere in the Bible does it talk about abolishing slavery. It's just okay with it throughout. So did he just like say it's okay and then like leave it to us to figure out? I feel like he should have. I mean, he lays down a lot of rules and guidelines to live by. I don't feel like he cares about like, oh, slavery is like a human thing and it'll take time to. He would have just said, hey, don't have slaves, don't do slavery. I am very far behind on chat. I scrolled to the bottom of chat. I hope you can forgive me because I was. This is also a matter of free will. Perhaps it's free will that God made. That made God not talk about slavery. Maybe he didn't want to talk about slavery. Slavery can also mean the government. Just because they ain't lawful doesn't mean you don't obey them and make a big stink out of it. Sure, but like the government doesn't like own people as property. Well, I guess you can make an argument against that. God's people already strayed so often because of dumb reasons. Abolishing of slavery could very well take away the faith of people entirely. Yeah, but like, he had a guy stoned to death for picking up sticks on the Sabbath. God, especially God in the Old Testament, is really, really harsh. He doesn't really care about humans and what they want or not. It's obey me or be dead is kind of what it is, or be struck with this punishment, this nation taking you over, or this famine, or this pestilence, or this or this that. He's I don't know. He also healed a guy on the Sabbath, and that's great. But he also condemned one to be killed on the Sabbath. Like, that guy still died. So, like, if God wanted to change the rules, if this unchanging God wanted to change the rules later, that's fine. But, like, he still came in hot and heavy with some of these rules. And it's like, obey me or die. He even struck down a couple in Acts who withheld some of their money from the church. So, like, I don't know. God can instantly feed 5,000 but can't figure out how to end slavery. Just like, I don't know, say don't. And he also spoke out against sexual immorality. something that a lot of people did. He spoke out against, what you can and cannot eat. Which he did a lot of things that would have upset people and, yes, caused people to stray. And spoke out about a lot of dumb things. But he couldn't say, hey, don't own people as slaves. Can you stop walking through my cord? You're not stuck. I mean, I know you're stuck. There you go. It's going to be okay. Where's my battery at? I can probably unplug it. Good night, Brooklyn. You are emphasizing God's justice and wrath, which is all true, but I think it would be important, too, to emphasize his generosity and mercy. If you obey and submit to him with his love me or I'll hurt you way of thinking. We're not saying that slavery is good, just saying that it's different from what we see it today. And that's fine if it was different from American slavery or whatever, but it's still owning someone as property for their life and passing them down into your children as an inheritance and being allowed to beat them with a rod. Still not great. Is your marriage an open relationship? It is not. God punishments are harsh because his standards are high, but he died to make the burden less on you and for you not to take it. I'm sorry, I can't read. It's all me, it's not you. And for you to not take it as a slap to the face. Yeah, I know God sacrificed himself to fix the system that he created. It kind of looks like a big egotistical look at me display. It reminds me of like an abusive partner. Like you're thinking about leaving your partner, but then like your kidney goes into kidney failure, and then they donate one of their kidneys to you, and it's like, I donated a kidney for you. I got that all growing up. It's like, look at the crucifix, look at all that Jesus did for you, and then you're just gonna say, oh my God, you're just gonna like take his name in vain, you're just gonna sin. Like, look, it's a big guilt trip. And Jesus didn't even sacrifice anything, especially if you think he's God. He was living in eternal paradise in heaven, came down for about 30 years, pretty, I wouldn't say average, he did a lot of stuff, but like, it wasn't terrible. And then like the last bit was pretty awful. The last couple of days were pretty awful. And he died. And then a couple days later, he got back up like nothing happened. Was just walking around, let someone stick their fingers in his wounds like it was a party trip, and then he skipped back up to eternal paradise in heaven. He's fine. It wasn't a sacrifice at all. Just like a big egotistical look at me display, look at what I did for you, even though you didn't do anything. I think I would prefer if your relationship was open because you're cute. Maybe. I do get some commenters who probably agree with you. It is not the situation God created, the system we created was sin. How did sin enter into the world? I believe that a lot of the Bible is myth as well. And there are some Christians who believe that they're just stories, that they shouldn't be taken literally, and then there are some more seriously or seen as actual history, and then there are some Christians who believe that it should be taken as actual history. Sin entered through human choice or free will. Sorry, I read another comment and it derailed me. Sin entered through human choice. So who created humans to make us sinful? And who created a system where if you don't go to a special building once a week, you're in trouble? Or if you take his name in vain, or if you don't believe in him, you're in trouble. If we always couldn't choose and always did what God wanted, we could not be human. Sure, but couldn't God create a system where there isn't so much pressure and temptation of sin? Or where he's a little bit more lenient on what sin is and like some of the dumb things that like don't really have to be sinful. Like murder's a sin. I can agree with that, but like taking the Lord's name in vain, speaking out against him, is that really a big deal? Not going to mass, is that really a big deal? I just feel like I also got a comment the other day. It reminded me that there are some people who believe that we will be reunited with our bodies one day. Like we'll go to heaven, but then God will create a new world. Heaven and earth will pass away in this new creation where we can live with our bodies as we are, and there'll be much less sin. It'll be much less dangerous. So I'm not saying you believe in that, but a lot of Christians do believe that that's some kind of final outcome, this new creation, where we will just kind of live and walk around, not really being sinful. He did create a system. He just made a requirement not to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So he did create a system, but he messed it up on the next page. He did. Yeah, Adam and Eve is a huge issue story. It's the God of this all-powerful, all-knowing God creates humans, doesn't give them the knowledge of good and evil, puts that in a fruit and says, don't eat that. And then this all-knowing, all-present God either walks away, doesn't notice, or just sits back and watches as this great tempter that he also put in the garden comes and tempts his naive new creation that doesn't have a good knowledge of good and evil and tries to tempt them to eat the fruit. And since Adam and Eve don't have a good sense of, right and wrong, a good knowledge of good and evil, they didn't have a good sense of right or wrong that would have informed their decision to listen to God and not the serpent. He kind of did just want obedient puppets who didn't ask questions or anything. So naturally, this great tempter tempts his naive new creation and they eat the fruit, while God watches with popcorn from the sideline. God set Adam and Eve up for failure hard. If your version of God is all-knowing, all-powerful, wouldn't he have the emotional skill to not take it personally if someone insults him? He gets very easily insulted in the Bible. He gets upset. Seemed to forget he was a human like us. He felt pain, and guess what? He did not give into it at all. He lived a perfect life that we could not live if we tried. Well, he's God. Why wouldn't he deserve glory? I mean, he's God. Obviously, he's going to come down and do it perfect. It's like the developer of a game coming and playing a game. And it's like, look at how well the developer's playing the game perfectly. Yeah, he made the game. So obviously he's, especially if you're talking about a sinless life, we're operating under the rules that he created. So like, yeah, he comes down and plays the game that he created. So yeah, he's going to do really well at it. But also, yeah, I get he suffered. I get it. He was human, fleshy, suffered. And I'm not saying, otherwise, but like a couple days later, he was fine. perfectly fine. And that's just not much of a sacrifice. What's 30 years or a couple days, a day or two of pain and suffering to an infinite, all-powerful being? It's almost like Tyra Banks putting on worn clothes and sleeping on a park bench for a night to see how it was like being homeless. I don't know. It's like, yeah, but like you're an infinite, all-powerful being. It's like you just took like a little dip and then just got right back to heaven. Also, not going to Mass is not, I believe, a sin. Church is not a requirement to go to heaven. It is belief in Jesus and acceptance of his gift. Depends on your denomination or interpretation of the Bible. Hi, Doom. I know this is somewhat contentious, but it's reasonable to argue that Jesus did not live a perfect life. Modern ethical theory is heading towards the consumption of animals being unethical, which Jesus did. Maybe. Sorry, my cat really wants attention. You said earlier you were not angry at God, but certainly I think it's fair to say you don't agree with his decisions and judgments. Does that make you disappointed at God? I don't believe in God. I want to be very clear that the story, I got a lot of issues with Christianity in this story that God, it's like if I'm sitting here talking about how awful Voldemort was. I don't believe in Voldemort, but this character is pretty awful. So like God personally, as an actual being that exists, no. The character is kind of a mess. I did believe in him before. And there's clearly an interest in him. Yeah, I've always been very passionate about religion. And I don't really know why. I don't really have a good answer for that. Probably shouldn't be live for too much longer. I'm gonna try to hard cut it off before 11, even though I don't like to. There might be a part of God in me that's leading me towards him. Maybe. I'm open to whatever. I'm along for the ride. I wish him luck, but also he's supposedly an all-powerful, all-knowing being, so like he probably, if he exists, knows what he's doing. So like, I don't know. I'll be fine. If he's got a plan for me, surely I can't get in the way of it. Those who don't believe in God with no anger or disappointment, I would assume, would just make a YouTube channel about your hobbies, making video games. But you clearly are very thoughtful on these issues, and you care a lot about this. It's very interesting about you. Yeah. It's religious studies. Religion is kind of my hobby. It's something I've always found to be interesting, even back when I was defending Christianity. And I don't really know why. Maybe it is something from God. I don't know, but it's something I've always found interesting, and it's something that's very important. Religion plays a huge role in the world, and I think can be and has been very harmful to the world throughout history, in various religions, not just Christianity. So I think it's a very, very important topic to discuss, and it's one I'm passionate about. I do have a gaming channel, though. I haven't posted on it in a couple of years, but it does exist. I do have it. I don't really play video games much these days, just for lack of time. Have you ever bought them? No. Can't say I have. Hi, sweet girl. Hi. 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 Peanut wants attention. Hi. Hi. You can kind of see her in the corner of the screen. Got an itch. She has a hard time scratching her itches, so sometimes she comes and basically asks me to do it for her. Nice girl. There was something I wanted to bring up at some point in this live. What is it? What do I want to bring up? Someone said something, and I want to bring it up. I don't think I'm gonna remember. It's on Instagram, wasn't it? Yeah. No idea. Hi. I got very excited when I looked back down at you. Oh yeah. Some people are asking like, I think is when I said I would kind of prefer atheism and like if the Christian afterlife is real, I think life is meaningless because your two outcomes are either bowing down and worshiping God mindlessly forever or burning and suffering for forever. Uh, and someone brought up, a couple of people have brought up, oh, so you don't think like people receiving justice, you don't want people to receive justice for or punishment for the terrible things that they did in this life. Like if somebody murders a bunch of people and then themselves, they just get away with it. I don't love that idea, but yeah, they just get away with it. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean it's not the case. And it's also, you really start to lose me on the whole divine justice system when someone like, I'm using a kind of a cliche example, but it's kind of a good one. It's people like Jeffrey Dahmer. With all the things he did, supposedly he found Christ at the end of his life and repented. So he has a better shot at going to heaven probably than me, who has never harmed anyone. At least not in that. I'm sure I've gotten in fights before, but, has never done nearly what Jeffrey Dahmer has done. But I don't believe in God. So I go to hell. Or like if a certain, I don't know, I'm probably already pushing the algorithm's limits with what I'm allowed to say. If a certain specially mustached German man converted at the end of his life and repented of his crimes and whatnot to God, he could probably go to heaven. But I haven't done what he did. So you literally just held my hand. That's so adorable. But I'm still going to hell. Hi. It is not your own righteousness that leads to salvation, but it is faith in Christ to be your righteousness in regards to your current issue with divine judgment. I guess I just don't agree with his judgment then. Especially in the argument that I was responding to of like, you don't want like someone who takes a lot of lives and then takes their own lives and they just get off scot-free. You don't want them to receive any punishment. Sure, they should receive punishment, but like that doesn't mean that punishment's there. Also, if they take their own life, they died. That's that's pretty something. Of course, if they wanted it, then yeah, they just kind of get away with it. And not liking it doesn't put an afterlife there. Likewise, you may very well have less sin than Jeff Dahmer, but if you depend on your own righteousness, then you still have sin and be punished for it. Not my words. This is doctrine. I understand it's doctrine, and I'm explaining how I don't agree with doctrine. Explaining my issues with doctrine. And I also get a lot of comments like, well, don't you want an afterlife? Like you don't want to. Do you want to just cease to exist when you leave this life? I don't really want to cease to exist when I leave this life. I would like there to be an afterlife, but my wanting there to be an afterlife does not put an afterlife there. Just like if I want there to be some kind of divine judgment so that criminals don't get away with their crimes just because they took their own life, doesn't put that divine judgment there. Divine judgment, though, since you have issue with it, what is the alternative? Would you leave judgment to humans? As far as I can tell, judgment has been left to humans. And it looks the same as if judgment were left to God on this planet. Because God's divine judgment doesn't really work. As far as I can tell, all we have, as far as social systems, criminal systems, stuff like that, is human-made. Religions is all human-made, as far as I can tell. Just because you don't like the Christian God doesn't mean he doesn't exist either. This is very true. This is very true. But I don't lack belief in a God just because I don't like him. I lack belief in a God because I have no reason to believe in a God. And I happen to dislike the God in question as depicted in the religion that he is the center of. You're very happy right now. She's just laying on my lap. You're very happy. And you're very cute. And I love you. Yeah. I love you. There are people who get away with murder. There are those who don't commit murder and are punished. These are biased jurors, biased judges. They're all punishments that are too tight and too harsh. Yeah. And that sucks. You have to strike gold with the juror, the lawyers, the judge, in order to get any semblance of a right decision. This is our human judgment, all its flaws. Yeah, it sucks. But I don't like God's judgment either. And I have no reason to believe that it exists. I at least see that the human system exists. And perhaps, since it is existent and tangible, maybe we can fix it, hopefully, someday. Or work to continue to fix it. And we've made strides throughout human history, but, still not quite where we should be. It then seems reasonable that you conclude that the world has no fair justice. I wouldn't say no fair justice, but there are many instances where there is no fair justice. I'm not saying overall there's no fair justice at all, because people do get fair justice, but not always. since both God and humans have failed at implementing justice. Yes. I would agree. But I also don't believe in God. But also, if God did exist, the world would still look like this. How there are two conversations going. Yeah, that's all right. I like, one of the reasons I like doing 3 when you include Thomas. I like, that's what I want here, honestly, is just kind of an open discussion, just bringing people with different ideas to the same table, and let's just have back and forth. Let's just talk about it, share ideas, maybe have little informal debates or whatever. So if two people want to just go back and forth in the comment section and have a discussion, that's great. I love to see it, because this is how we learn, and this is how we grow, and this is potentially how we make the world a better place, is by sharing ideas, by sitting down together and sharing our thoughts and our disagreements, and perhaps even working through them or finding some kind of better way out, or maybe even just leaving each other with thoughts. Nobody necessarily has to win the debate right then and there, or just because somebody wins a debate doesn't mean that their side is right forever and for all time and that the loser should convert or whatever. But still ideas being shared in different perspectives. If your religion is true, it only changes the fact that we have a shitty being to blame for the situation. Yeah. I would actually really like who? It might have deleted one of your comments. Humanity is like a big giant relationship. Communication is key. Yes, I absolutely agree. And we need more of that. Especially as we live in a world where a lot of people seem to think that we should solve our problems by murdering them. Grew up Christian and then was very disappointed in God and left the faith for many years. Then I found God again at the age of 28, so I can relate to your story. Well, good. That's one thing I love about having been raised Christian and being like a devout Christian in it, because there's peanut here everywhere. Because I've lived on and supported and fought for both sides of the argument. And so I have an understanding of both sides and where both sides are coming from. And I'm really happy that that's the case, because it helps me understand who I'm talking to and why they might be saying the things or believing things. Because some Christians believe in things that atheists might have a lot of issues with, and things might get heated. But I think that understanding of okay, what is this person saying? Because I don't think Christians are idiots or assholes. I mean, there are idiots and assholes in every shape, size, color, and creed you could find. But I don't think all Christians or whatever are just assholes or idiots or anything like that. I think it's more complicated than that. If I had to go back in time, though, I would have made a better effort to understand Christianity. Not American Christianity or millennial Christianity, but Christianity according to the apostles. Why not start now, if you haven't already? I've been kind of trying to have that mindset of if you could have a do-over, what would you do different? And then why don't you do that now? That's kind of what I've been trying to work on. And you have. Well, good. Better late than never, I watch Redeemed Zoomer. I have another thing to put in my notebook that I'm never going to read, that I really, really need to go through. I have this notebook that whenever someone suggests something to me in a live, I write it down in this notebook. And then I put it in this basket. And then I put it away with my stack of Bibles and my microphone and stuff into my cabinet. And it doesn't exist until the next live stream. But one day I'll have to I'll have to go through it. Your arguments are similar to mine when I was far from God. So hopefully that gives you an understanding of where I'm at. Watching Evil, pretty interesting show. I don't think I've heard about that one. Honestly, not to be born in a Christian nationalist family, that's what I'd do over. Yeah. I mean, if I could have a do-over, I would definitely start diving into this religious studies and stuff a lot sooner. And like I would have read through the Bible sooner and the Quran and the Bhagavad Gita. I would have just gotten on this and really seriously dove into it a lot sooner. But oh well. I was all like, God doesn't exist, but then I was always talking bad about God because he was pro-slavery, against gay people, hated women, blah, blah, blah. Well, I talk bad about an idea of God, and I talk bad about Christianity and its idea of God. I don't actually believe the being exists. I am nearing the end of the live stream. I do need to get off soon. I have a hard cutoff at 11 that I cannot pass. 11 Central Standard Time, which is in 10 minutes. You know why it itches over here? Is your ear still itching? Trying to help my cat. How often do I do these live streams? I usually try to do them every Tuesday night. Somewhere between 9 and 10 Central Standard Time. Starting them. Usually after 9:30. Usually not too long after 9:30. And I usually go a little over an hour. I was shopping after and taking a coworker home. A little time after is fine. I want to make sure I'm off. But yeah. And then if you, and I know this is a big ask, but if you subscribe, which you don't have to, if I'm not going live on a particular night, some point during the day, sometimes like an hour before, I will make a post on YouTube that I won't be doing the live stream. But usually most Tuesday nights I am live. Good night. Thanks for answering my questions. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. You subscribe. Well, thank you. It's people like you that keep the conversation going and that make these live streams happen. That I have to say that carry the live stream, because otherwise, if no one's engaging in chat, it is just me awkwardly trying to find something to talk about or scrolling through comments and seeing what I can respond to. I don't come prepared for these live streams at all. I just kind of hope that chat will talk. So when I have people like you in chat, and like a lot of the other people we've had in chat tonight, it carries the live stream. It gives the conversation. It gives the content, the substance, and it's great. To be fair, your rambling is very engaging. Well, good. I'm glad. I think it's mostly nonsensical rambling, but I'm glad that there can be some good to come out of it. Percy Thomas in this discourse on animals is hilarious. Yeah, just let people come in. You know, it's very chill. I try to have a very chill open stream. I definitely try not to be one of those atheists, just like, see, stupid Christian. You know, I don't know. Apparently a lot of people like my voice and like listening to me and watching. Often when there is an awkward silence, you are able to strike up an interesting topic seemingly out of thin air. Very impressive. I try. I try. Especially Thomas and Jason. I do think it is time for me to go. So thank you all so much. This was a nice live stream. It was nice, chill, engaging. I enjoyed it. I love doing these live streams. I always come in like with this idea of like I'll do an hour-long live stream and then like an hour and 15, an hour and 20, an hour and whatever. And it's like because like I gave up on it. I used to be like, all right, I'm gonna do this for an hour, and then I never did. And I'd be like, yeah, I do these for an hour, but then like I don't do them for an hour. Just because I end up enjoying it, and I don't want to leave, but at some point I got to move on with my night. So thank you all so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for just anyone who just stopped to sit here for a second and is now gone. I'm a random nobody rambling on about who knows what on the internet. I am nothing special deserving your time or energy. So the fact that anyone even stopped on my stream is great, and then especially people who liked or commented or engaged or subscribed, it's crazy and very much appreciated. So I hope you all have an amazing day. I hope you're all staying safe here in the U.S. with all the winter storms and stuff going on, or if you live somewhere else in the world where the weather's doing stupid things, or where people are doing stupid things, which is most places. But I hope things are well. I hope things are well with you, and I hope to see you guys another time. So thank you for being here.